Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and pranams to all of you. Thank you all for joining in for our Krishna book study today. We'll start with the prayers. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauradushe Namaha Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktapraktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyamishwaram Harihi Om Tatsat Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyamishwaram Harihi Om Tatsat Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and pranams to all of you. Thank you all for joining in for our study of the Krishna book. Today we're going to start with chapter number 7 of the Krishna book. So the last time we saw the deliverance of Putana. So today we're going to see the deliverance of Trinavrata, right? So Prabhupada says, the Lord is the Lord in all circumstances. The Lord does not have to do Ashtanga Yoga. The Lord does not need to practice austerity and in this way become God, right? Nobody can become God by performing austerities, by performing meditation, by performing fasting, or by performing any kind of tapasya, right? The Lord is Lord in all circumstances. And Prabhupada explains how the Lord, the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was a small baby, a few days old, he delivered Putana, right? He gave her the status of a mother. So in this way, the Lord, by hearing all of these pastimes, we're going to develop our dormant love for Krishna, right? We're understanding the greatness of the Lord, how the Lord is killing all the demons, and in this way, praying to the Lord to also kill all the demoniac propensities that is also there in our heart, right? Like I said in all of the previous yugas, the demoniac and the divine, right? In Satya Yuga, they were in different planets. In Treta Yuga, they were in different kingdoms. In Dwapara Yuga, they were in different families, right? Kurus and the Pandavas. But now in Kali Yuga, every one of us is having a divine and a demonic within us, right? So if we want to become dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need to kill these demonic propensities that are there in us, like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, etc. So the way Krishna is actually killing all of these demons, as we are hearing these wonderful pastimes from the Krishna book, we can also pray to the Lord to kill all the demonic propensities that is there in us, right? In each of our hearts, there is a good dog and a bad dog, representing the divine qualities and the demoniac qualities, right? The more we feed the dog that we feed, the most that dog is going to shout out loud. The other dog is going to die. So what are we feeding on? I mean, which dog are we feeding, right? Are we feeding the divine qualities in us, which will make us dear to Krishna, or are we feeding the demoniac qualities in us, which will take us away from Krishna? So we can introspect on that as we go ahead and study this chapter, the deliverance of Trinavrata. All right, chapter number 7. So we request devotees, you can raise your hands and then let's start. Okay, Shubhangi Keshri Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Srila
Yes.
Prabhupada. Yes. Chapter 7, the salvation of Trinavrata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always full of its six opulence, namely complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete knowledge, complete beauty, and complete renunciation. The Lord appears in different, complete, eternal form of incarnation. The conditioned soul has immense opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord in these different incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Janma karma cha me divyam. The pastimes and activities of the Lord are not material. They are beyond the material conception, and the conditioned soul can benefit by hearing such uncommon activities. Hearing is an opportunity to associate with the Lord. To hear his activities is to evolve one's transcendental nature simply by hearing. The conditioned soul has a natural aptitude to hear something about other conditioned soul in the form of fiction, drama, and novel. The inclination to hear something about others may be utilized in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Then one can immediately evolve his transcendental nature. Krishna's pastimes are not only beautiful, they are also very pleasing to the mind. If someone takes advantage of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the material contaminations of dust accumulated in the heart due to long association with material nature can be immediately cleansed. Lord Chaitanya also instructed that simply by hearing the transcendental name of Lord Krishna, one can cleanse the heart of all material contamination. There are different processes for self-realization, but this process of devotional service of which hearing is the most important function, when adopted by any conditioned soul, will automatically cleanse him of the material contamination and enable him to realize his real constitutional position. Conditional life is due to his contamination only, and as soon as it is cleared off, then naturally the dormant function of the living entity rendering service to the Lord awakens. By developing this eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, one becomes eligible to create friendship with the devotees. Maharaja Parikshit recommended from practical experience that everyone try to hear about the transcendental pastime of the Lord. This Krishna territories is meant for that purpose, and the reader may take advantage of it to attain the ultimate goal of human life. The
Thank you,
Lord
Mataji.
out
Hare
of
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, So here, a very important aspect is given. What is that? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Kare Udaya. Right? Some or the other, we have contaminated our hearts with propensities for sense gratification. Right? So somehow we have to cleanse our heart. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this formula of Cheto Darpana Marjanam. How we can cleanse the mirror of the heart? Simply by Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Simply by engaging in this process of Harinam Sankirtan, hearing the glories of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Simply by doing this, naturally, the dormant Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaya Udaya. That we were discussing. Udaya means something that is already there only can rise, right? Something that is not there has to be first brought in, right? So Prabhupada also says Krishna consciousness is not an external. We are not trying to get anything from the external, right? Krishna consciousness is already there in everyone's heart, but it is lying dormant. So Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta. So by hearing about the glories of the Lord, our heart gets purified, and the dormant love which is within our heart, which is actually pushed down by various desires of sense gratification, are removed, and this love for the Supreme Lord reawakens in our heart. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tatvatah tyatva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. So Krishna himself tells in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who hears my transcendental activities, about my transcendental appearance and activities, will, upon leaving this body, will not take his birth again in this material world, but will attain my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So now what are we attempting to do? We are attempting to hear the pastimes of the Lord, to know the greatness of the Lord as described by his pure devotee Srila Prabhupada. All right, let's move ahead. Okay, Shri Priya Mataji, go ahead. The Lord, out of his causeless mercy.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Nice mercy.
The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends to this material world and displays his activities just like an ordinary man. Unfortunately, the impersonalist or the atheist class of men consider Krishna to be an ordinary man like themselves, and so they deride him. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself, and he says, Avajanati ma muda. The mudas or rascals take Krishna to be an ordinary man or a slightly more powerful man. Out of the great misfortune, they cannot accept him as supreme personality of Godhead. Sometimes such fortunate persons misrepresent themselves as
Unfortunate person.
incarnation. Sorry, Mataji.
Such unfortunate persons.
Yeah, sometimes such unfortunate persons misrepresent themselves as incarnations of Krishna without referring to the authorized scriptures. When Krishna grew up a little more, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back. Another function was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of the Vedic principles. Krishna's birthday ceremony is observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective of different sectarian views. All the covered men and women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played, and the assembled people enjoyed it. All the learned Brahmanas were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for the good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of Vedic hymns and playing of bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhisheka. And even today, this is observed in all the temples of Vrindavana on Janmashtami day, or the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna. On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain, and first-class cows decorated with the golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to the learned and the respectable Brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna, duly dressed and bathed on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the Brahmanas. While Mother Yashoda was listening to the chanting of the Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore she very silently laid him down on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives, and residents of Vrindavana on the holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. He was crying, being hungry, but Mother Yashoda could not hear him cry because of the various noises. The child, however, became angry because he was hungry and his mother was not paying attention to him. So he lifted his legs and began to kick his lotus feet just like an ordinary child. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand driven cart, and while he was kicking his leg, he accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. Various kinds of utensils and dishes made of brass and other metals had been piled up in the hand cart, and they all fell down with a great noise. The wheel of the cart separated from the axle, and the spokes of the wheel were all broken and shattered hither. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as Maharaja Nanda and the coward men, were astonished as to how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. No one could ascertain the cause, but some small children who were interested to play with baby Krishna informed the crowd that it was due to Krishna striking his feet against the wheel. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes, and they strongly asserted the point. Some were listening to the statement of the small children, but others said, how can you believe the statements of these children? The coward men and women could not understand that all the powerful personality of Godhead was lying there as a baby, and that he could do anything. both the possible and impossible were in his power. While
Hare Krishna.
the
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So in Vrindavan, the more Krishna performs such wonderful leelas like killing of demons, pushing down an entire cart which is filled with so many brass and other articles. Even then, even though people see, right, the Gopas actually see him actually perform this feat by just by the touching of his feet, all of these things are collapsing. Yet none of them believe that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, because that is arrangement of Yoga Maya. Right, whatever happens, Mother Yashoda always thinks, oh my God, what happened to my little child? Oh, why is he behaving like this? Oh, why all of the things have fallen on my little child? Oh, thank God, my little child is protected. Like that, she will chant holy Vedic hymns. She will take the saliva from her tongue and put it on baby Krishna, to ensure that all the the evil things and other things will get warded off, like that. So never will Mother Yashoda think that, oh, this is Supreme Personality of God who has appeared in my home as my child. Never, right? Because that actually intervenes in the loving reciprocation between the mother and the son, isn't it? So in this way, although so many wonderful pastimes are done by the Supreme Lord, he kills so many demons, all these abnormal things, what a small child can never do. Even if those kind of things happen, Mother Yashoda is always thinking, "Oh my God, what is happening? Right? Why is my son is getting injured, or how he's just escaping injury every time? Right? Every time a particular a demon comes, or tries to attack Krishna, somehow or the other he is getting saved. Oh, it must be because of the various prayers that I do." And then she intensifies her prayers for the protection of the Lord. So like that. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, while the discussion was going on, okay, Rajanish Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji Jandu Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Danat Pranam.
While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried without remonstration. Mother Yashoda picked the child up on her lap and called the learned Brahmins to chant holy Vedic hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If a child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, all the stronger cowherd men put the broken cart in order, and all the scattered things were set up nicely as before. The Brahmins therefore thereafter began to offer oblations to the sacrificial fire with yogurt, butter, kusha, grass, and water. They worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the good fortune of the child. The Brahmins who were present at that time were all qualified because they were not envious. They never
Yes,
indulged in unfruitfulness. They were never proud. They were non-violent, and they never claimed any false testing. They were all bona fide Brahmins, and there was no reason to think that their blessings would be useless. With firm faith in the qualified Brahmins, Nand Maharaja took the child on his lap and bathed him with water mixed with various herbs, while Brahmans chanted hymns from the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, and Samveda. It is said that without being a qualified Brahman, one should not read the mantras of Vedas. Here is the proof. Here is the proof that Brahmins were qualified with all the Brahminical symptoms. Maharaja Nand also had full faith in them. Therefore, they were allowed to perform the ritualistic ceremonies by chanting the Vedic mantras. There are many different varieties of sacrifices recommended for different purposes, but the mantras are all to be chanted by the qualified Brahman. And because in this age of Kali, such qualified Brahmans are not available, all Vedic ritualistic sacrifices are forbidden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended only one kind of sacrifice, namely the Sankirtan Yajna or chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare. As the Brahmins chanted the Vedic hymns and performed the ritualistic ceremonies for the second time, Nand Maharaja again gave them huge quantities of grain and cows. All the cows which were given in charity were covered with nice gold embroidered garments, and their horns were bedecked with golden rings. Their hooves were covered with silver plate, and they were garlands of flowers. They wore garlands of flowers. He gave so many cows just for the welfare of his wonderful child, and the Brahmins in return bestowed their heartfelt blessings, and the blessings offered by the evil Brahmins were never to be better.
Hare
One
Krishna.
day
Thank you,
short,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagaditaya Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha. So Nanda Maharaj also, we see how he is distributing cows and he is engaging the Brahmanas to study the Vedic scriptures. He's serving the Brahmanas by giving them charity, right? Giving them cows and giving them the cows which were decorated, very beautifully decorated with gold embroidered garments, and their hooves were covered with silver plate, and which were covered with a lot of flowers, etc. Right? So in this way, the Brahmanas are also satisfied. In this way, the cows are also satisfied. And the cows are given in charity to Brahmanas. They actually serve the Brahmanas in terms of the milk they produce, right? And the Brahmanas, they are satisfied with the milk, right? Prabhupada says that if there is a cow and a farm and a land, then anybody can sustain and live in a very luxuriant way, right? It is not necessary for modern industrialization that is required for a comfortable living. Simply, if a man has a cow, then all the milk products are available, and then land is there for tilling, and you get the grains from the land, right? So in this way, with the process of agriculture and taking care of the cows, everybody can live happily like that. All right, so that's what we see even Nanda Maharaj is doing for the pleasure of Krishna, and that's what that's what Prabhupada is also saying in one of the purports of the Bhagavad Gita, that unnecessary industrialization is only activating and increasing the pollution, and is creating more and more greed, right? Because people want to accumulate and keep more and more and more. But simple living and high thinking is Brahminical standard is just to have a cow and a piece of land and live happily there like that. Okay, let's move forward. One day shortly after the ceremony, Deval Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was patting her baby on her lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in household affairs. At that time, a servant of Kamsa, known as Trinavrata, as instructed by Kamsa, appeared there in the shape of a whirlwind. He picked the child up on his shoulders and raised a great dust storm all over Vrindavana, covering everyone's eyes. Within a few moments, the whole area of Vrindavana became so densely dark that no one could see himself or anyone else. During this great catastrophe, Mother Yashoda could not see her baby, who had been taken away by the whirlwind, and she began to cry very piteously. She fell down on the ground exactly like a cow who has just lost her calf. When Mother Yashoda was so piteously crying, all the cowherd women immediately came and began to look for the baby, but they were disappointed and could not find him. The Trinavata demon went high into the sky with baby Krishna on his shoulder, but the baby assumed such a weight that suddenly he could not go any further, and he had to stop his whirlwind activities. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh down the demon, catching hold of his neck. Trinavrata felt the baby to be as heavy as a big mountain, and he tried to get out of his clutches, but he was unable to do so, and his eyes popped out from their sockets. Crying very fiercely, he fell down to the ground of Vrindavana and died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurasura, who was pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva. Trinavrata hit a stone slab and his limbs were smashed. His body became visible to all the inhabitants of Vrindavana. When the gopis saw the demon killed and child Krishna very happily playing on his body, they immediately picked Krishna up with great affection. The cowherd men and women became very happy to get back their beloved child Krishna. At that time, they began to talk about how wonderful it was that the demon had taken away the child to devour him, but could not do so. Instead, he fell down dead. Some of them supported the situation. This is proper because those who are too sinful die from their sinful reactions, and child Krishna is pious. Therefore, he's safe from all kinds of fearful situations. And we too must have performed great sacrifices in our previous lives, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, giving great wealth in charity, and acting philanthropically for the general welfare of men. Because of such pious activities, the child is safe from all danger. The
Hare Krishna.
gopis
Thank you,
accept.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Dharat pranam.
So here, it's very wonderful, isn't it? See, whenever parents do some good charity, etc., all the benefits of that goes to the children, right? So that's why whatever we do, like sometimes even in Prabhupada Lilamrita, it is mentioned how Prabhupada's mother, Abhay Charan's mother, also she used to observe Mauna Vrata, or she used to use only her left hand for doing various chores, simply because Abai was unwell, and then she wanted Abai to become okay. So like that, mothers, whenever they do something for the child, when they really pray and do something for the child, definitely it helps the child, because the prayers of the mother are answered by the Lord. So here also we see that the gopis and the gopas are thinking that because we have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is actually helping our child. Right? Krishna, everyone considered Krishna to be their child. Right? And although Krishna, there are so many dangers that are happening. Suddenly, a whirlwind comes and picks up the child and goes up, and suddenly, of course, Krishna is the supreme Lord. He weighed himself so much that the demon could not fly higher. So the demon had to come down and fall onto the ground. But yet Lord Krishna was not affected by it. Right? He was sitting. The demon vanished, and Krishna was just like playing in the sand like that. Right? But they are all thinking that because of our prayers, right, Krishna is actually protected from danger. So they always think that it is some other reason other than Krishna being the Supreme Personality of God. It is some other reason that is actually protecting Krishna. And they continuously worship the Lord, offer charity, do everything that is mentioned in the Vedic scriptures simply to protect Krishna. Right? And everything happens well in Vrindavan because of the adherence to the Vedic scriptures. All right. Next, Sudha Mataji, go ahead. The gopis assembled there.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranam.
Hare Krishna, pranam.
The gopis assembled there spoke among themselves. What sort of austerities and penances we must have undergone in our previous lives. We must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered different kinds of sacrifices, made charities, and performed many welfare activities for the public, such as growing banyan trees and excavating wells. As a result of these pious activities, we have gotten back our child, even though he was supposed to be dead. Now he has come back to enliven his relatives. After observing such wonderful happenings, Nanda Maharaj began to think of the words of Vasudeva again and again. After this incident, when Yashoda once was nursing her child and patting him with great affection, there streamed a profuse supply of milk from her breast, and when she opened the mouth of the child with her fingers, she suddenly saw the universal manifestation within his mouth. She saw within the mouth of Krishna the whole sky, including the luminaries, stars in all directions, the sun, moon, fire, air, seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all other movable and immovable entities. When Mother Yashoda saw this, her heart began to throb, and she murmured within herself, "How wonderful this is!" She could not express anything but simply closed her eyes. She was absorbed in wonderful thoughts. Krishna, showing the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even when lying down on the lap of his mother, proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether he is manifested as a child on the lap of his mother or as a charioteer on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The concoction of the impersonalists that one can become God by meditation or by some artificial material activities is herewith declared false. God is always God in any condition or status, and the living entities are always the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They can never be equal to the inconceivable supernatural power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 7th chapter of Krishna, the salvation of Trinavarta. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So again and again, Prabhupada is mentioning the same thing. Why? Because we all want to hear about that greatness of the Lord, but somewhere there is this enviousness, right? That's why we are in this material world where we try to become God, right? If I practice austerity, if I perform bhakti very nicely, somewhere I will become the controller. I will become the I will become a person who will not come under the modes of material nature. I will transcend the three modes. I will become the controller. I will become the enjoyer. Right. So that tendency to become the ultimate controller or the ultimate enjoyer is so much ingrained that Prabhupada is again and again telling us here that one cannot become the supreme personality of Godhead by any charity or by any austerity or by any penance. One cannot become the supreme Lord. The supreme Lord is always the supreme Lord, whether he is lying on the lap of his mother or whether he's in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's fighting a war, whatever he may be doing, whether he's in Goloka Vrindavan or whether he's descended in Vrindavan Dham and is just playing around like an ordinary gopa. The Lord is a Lord in all circumstances, and the Lord is called Asam Urdhva. There's nobody who's Sama, there's nobody who's equal to him, and there is nobody who is Urdhva. That means nobody who is greater than him. The Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead. Like that, it is explained by Srila Prabhupada. Now let us move on to chapter number 8, Vision of the Universal Form. So we hear here that Yashoda Maya saw that the entire cosmic manifestation in the mouth of little Krishna, and yet she was thinking, oh, this is very wonderful, but it does not in any way strike her that, oh, this could be the Supreme Lord. How can somebody show the entire universe in his mouth? Right? For a moment, she's thinking this is very wonderful, and then she goes on with her own duties as a mother. Right? She does not realize that this could be the Supreme Lord, and this is by the arrangement of Yogamaya. Okay, chapter 8, Vision of the Universal Form. Okay, Maushmi Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Vision of the universal form. After this incident, Vasudeva asked his family, priest, Gargamuni, to visit the place of Nanda Maharaj in order to astrologically calculate the future life of Krishna. Gargamuni was a great saintly sage who had undergone many austerities and penances and been appointed priest of the Yadu dynasty. When Gargamuni arrived at the home of the Nand Maharaj, Nand Maharaj was very pleased to see him and immediately stood up with folded hands and offered his respectful obeisances. He received Gargamuni with the feeling of one who is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He offered him a nice sitting place, and when he sat down, Nanda Maharaj offered him a warm reception. Addressing him very politely, he said, "My dear Brahmana, your appearance in a household places only to enlighten. We are always engaged in household duties and are forgetting our real duty of self-realization. You came to our home house is to give us some elegance about enlightenment about spiritual life. You have no other purpose in visiting householders. Actually, since saintly person or a brahmana has no business visiting householders who are always busy in the matter of dollars and cents. The only reasons saintly person and brahmana go to the place of a householder to enlighten. If it is asked, why don't the householders go to a saintly person or a brahmana for enlightenment? The answer is that householders are very poor-hearted. Generally, householders think that engaging in family affairs is their prime duty, and that self-realization or enlightenment in spiritual knowledge is secondary. Out of compassion, only saintly person and Brahmana go to the householder's home.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So it is mentioned here, Haribol. So it is mentioned here, it is mentioned in the scriptures also, that a saintly person stays in a householder's home only as much as time that is required to milk a cow, right? It is at one muhurta or something, right? When the time that is taken to milk a cow, that much time only the saintly people are there in householder in a home, just to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. They don't go there to sit and enjoy and take all the benefits what they offer, etc. No, their only purpose is to give Krishna to the householders, because they are so busy with their family life, family activities, going out for work, coming back, in their sense gratification, etc. You're earning wealth, utilizing the wealth for sense gratification. In this way itself the life goes on, right? So the saintly people go to their homes, tell them about Krishna, tell them about how it is necessary to utilize their wealth, their body, their words, and everything for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Because the householders don't come to the saintly people. The saintly people have to go to the householders, and their purpose is not to get any benefit from them, but their purpose is only to give Krishna consciousness to them, like that. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Nanda Maharaj addressed Garga Muni.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Hare Krishna, pranams.
Nanda Maharaja addressed Garga Muni as one of the great authorities in astrological science. The foretellings of the astrological signs, such as the occurrence of solar or lunar eclipses, are wonderful calculations, and by this particular science, a person can understand the future very clearly. Garga Muni was proficient in this knowledge. By this knowledge, one can also understand what his previous activities were that are causing him to enjoy or suffer in this life. Nanda Maharaja also addressed Garga Muni as the best of the Brahmanas. A Brahmana is one who is expert in the knowledge of the Supreme. Without knowledge of the Supreme Absolute, one cannot be recognized as a Brahmana. The exact word used in this connection is Brahma Vidam, which means those who know the Supreme very well. An expert Brahmana is able to give reformatory facilities to the subcastes, namely the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. The Shudras observe no reformatory performances. The Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master or priest for the Kshatriya and the Vaishya. Nanda Maharaja happened to be a Vaishya, and he accepted Garga Muni as a first-class Brahmana. He therefore offered his two foster sons, namely Krishna and Balarama, to him to purify. Nanda stated that not only these boys, but all human beings, just after birth, should accept a qualified Brahmana as a spiritual master. Upon this request, Garga Muni replied, Vasudeva has sent me to see the reformatory performances of these boys, especially Krishna's, but if I do so, it may incidentally appear that Krishna is a son of Devaki, since I am Vasudeva's family priest. By his astrological calculation, Garga Muni could understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki, which Nanda did not know. Indirectly, Garga Muni said that Krishna and Balarama were both sons of Vasudeva. Balarama was known as the son of Vasudeva because his mother Rohini was present there, but Nanda Maharaja did not know about Krishna. Garga Muni indirectly disclosed the fact that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Garga Muni also warned Nanda Maharaja that if he would perform the reformatory ceremony, then Kamsa, who was naturally very sinful, would understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. According to astrological calculation, Devaki could not have a female child, although everyone thought that the eighth child of Devaki was female. In this way, Garga Muni intimated to Nanda Maharaja that the female child was born of Yashoda and that Krishna was born of Devaki, and they were exchanged. Also, the female child, Durga, had informed Kamsa that the child who would kill him was already born somewhere else. Garga Muni stated, if I give your child a name and if he fulfills the prophecy of the female child to Kamsa, then it may be that the sinful demon will come and kill this child also after the name giving ceremony. But I do not want to become responsible for all these future calamities.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So, Garga Muni is actually sent by Vasudeva, right? Because he is the family priest of the of Vasudeva, right? But then when Nanda Maharaj is actually employing Garga Muni to perform these purificatory rites and become the spiritual master of Krishna and Balaram. Of course, people will get to know that why is Garga Muni, who is the family priest of Vasudeva, is coming and doing this for Nanda Maharaj's sons. Right? In this way, they will understand that because of the prophecy also that that the eighth child of Devaki cannot be a female, right? But they were just adjusted to the fact that okay, maybe the prophecy has gone wrong or something like that, right? But if this happens, then what happens? Automatically, everybody will get to know that this it is indeed Krishna and Balaram who are actually the sons of Devaki who are now in Vrindavan, right? So everybody could get that doubt, right? So in that way, Gargamuni is saying, there could be a danger if I perform the purificatory rites for them. But then Vasudeva wants me to do it. So whether he should go ahead or not is something they are contemplating. Okay, let's move ahead. Karpagavali Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. On hearing the words of Dattamuni, Nanda Maharaj said, if there is such danger, then it is better not to plan any gorgeous name-giving ceremony. It would be better for you to simply chant the Vedic hymns and perform the purificatory process. We belong to the twice-born caste, and I am taking this opportunity of your presence. So please perform the name-giving ceremony without external form. Nanda Maharaja wanted to keep the ceremony a secret and yet take advantage of Garga Muni's performing the ceremony. When Garga Muni was so eagerly requested by Nanda Maharaja, he performed the name-giving ceremony as secretly as possible in the household of Nanda Maharaja. He informed Nanda Maharaja that the son of Rogini would be very pleasing to his family members and relatives, and therefore would be called Rama. In the future, he would be extraordinarily strong and therefore would be called Baladeva. Garga Muni said further, because your family and the family of the Yadus are so intimately connected and attracted, his name will also be Sankarsana. This means that Garga Muni awarded 3 names to the son of Rogini, namely Balarama, Sankarsana, and Baladeva. But he carefully did not disclose the fact that Balarama also had appeared in the womb of Devaki and was subsequently transferred to the womb of Rogini. So Krishna and Balarama are real brothers, being originally sons of Devaki. Garga Muni then informed Nanda Maharaja, as far as your son is concerned, this child has taken different bodily complexions in different yugas, millennia. First of all, he assumed the color of white, then the color red, then the color yellow. Now he is assumed the color black. Besides that, he was formerly the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, his name should be Vasudeva as well as Krishna.
Vasudeva.
Some people will Vasudeva as well as Krishna. Some people call him Krishna and some will call him Vasudeva. But one thing you must know, the son has had many other names and activities due to his different pastimes. Garga Muni further hinted to Nanda Maharaja that his son would also be called Giridhari because his uncommon pastime of lifting Govardhana hill. Since Garga Muni was the astrologer, he could understand everything past and future. Thus he said, I know everything these names, but others do not know. This child will be very pleasing to all that all had men and foes. Being very popular in Vrindavana, he will be the cause of all good fortune for you. Because of his presence, you will overcome all kinds of material calamities despite opposing elements. Garga Muni continued to say, my dear king of Vrija, in his previous birth, his child many times protected righteous persons from the hands of rogues and thieves, and whenever there was political destruction. The child is so powerful that anyone who will become a devotee of the world will never be troubled by enemies. Just as demigods are always protected by Lord Vishnu, the devotees of your child will always be protected by Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This child will grow in power, beauty, opulence, and in everything on the level of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, I would advise you that you protect him very carefully so that he may grow without disturbance. In other words, Garga Muni informed Nanda Maharaja that because he was a great devotee of Lord Narayana, the Lord had given Nanda a son equal to himself. At the same time, Garga Muni indicated that by so many demons, and that Nanda should therefore be careful and protect him. In this way, Gargamuni convinced Nanda Maharaja that Narayana himself had become his son. In various ways, he described the transcendental qualities of his son. After giving this information, Gargamuni returned to his home. Nanda Maharaja began to think of himself as the most fortunate person, and he was very satisfied to receive such benediction in this way. At
Hare
some
Krishna.
time
Thank you,
after
Mataji.
this, thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thanks. Dandavat.
Dhanavats. So here Gargamuni is actually telling Nanda Maharaj that your son is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he'll be known by various names according to the various leelas he's going to perform. Right? He is called Vasudeva because he's the son of Vasudev. He is called Giridhari because he's going to lift the Govardhan hill, Govardhana Giridhari, and then he'll be called by so many names: Madhusudana, Trivikrama. Right? He's going to be called as Krishna. Right? The best name of Krishna. The best name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna himself. That's what Prabhupada says. Sarvam Akarshani Iti Krishna. Right? Everything is attracted. The one who was able to attract everything and everyone to himself. That is Krishna. Right? Akarshan. It's from the word Akarshan means to attract somebody to him. Right? So Sarvam Akarshanati Iti Krishna. The person who attracts the entire Brahmanda is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's called Krishna. Right? So Prabhupada says one can also chant other names of the Lord, but these wonderful names which are related to the pastimes of the Lord, right? Madhusudana, Vasudeva, and Keshava, Narayana, right? Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. So all of these names associated with his devotees, right? They are said to be very, very dear to the Lord himself. That when somebody addresses him in that way, the Lord becomes pleased by that person who actually addresses him in such a way in connection with his devotees. Right? Otherwise, Janardhana, the one who maintains his entire world, the one who maintains all the living entities, those names are related to his role of maintenance of this world. Right? But these pastimes where Krishna is associated with his devotee, right? Like Krishna, like Govardhana Giridhari, then you have Madhava, right? Keshava, and all of these, right? Even the association with the killing of the demons, these are all pastimes in Vrindavan, right? All of the demons are also so, they are also so elevated, right? Otherwise, how could they be in the dham of Vrindavan? How could they be killed by Krishna himself, isn't it? So all of every Vrajavasi itself assumes a special position in Krishna's heart, and all of the names of Krishna which are associated with Vrindavan Leelas are very, very dear to Lord Sri Krishna. And anyone who chants these names automatically gets love of Godhead. The primary name Prabhupada says is Krishna. Sarvam Akarshati Iti Krishna. Right? Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, we will develop attraction for Krishna. And once we chant the holy name of the Lord in a pure way, we will understand the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. Right? Parivar, Madhurya, everything of the Lord. Everything about the sweetness of the Lord, the glories of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, right? The form of the Lord, everything will be understood simply when one chants the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, with intense affection, with intense devotion, with sincerity and enthusiasm and determination, then automatically all the other aspects of the Lord are automatically revealed to the devotee. So with this, we will end our today's session. We will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow we'll try to complete this chapter, wherein we're going to see the various pastimes of Balaram and Krishna actually starting to crawl on their hands and knees. What are they doing? How do they give pleasure to Mother Rohini, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and all the Gopas and Gopis of Vrindavan Dham? That's what we're going to study tomorrow. Please do join us at around 12 o'clock. Indian Standard Time. We'll mention the exact time in the WhatsApp group. All right. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Anant Koji Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So quickly we'll do Harinam Sankirtan and the devotees can switch on your cameras. We'll have Vaishnava Darshan and then we'll end. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namide Namaste Saraswate Deve गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी अष्टादीशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानन्दा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्दा हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय गौरनिताय जय जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रमा जय सुदर्शन जय बाल गोपाल जय राधा कृष्ण जय राधा श्याम सुंदर जय राधा माधव राधा दास बिहारी राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे राधे जय राधे राधे जय श्री राधे राधे जय सद्गोस्वामी जय गुरु परंपरा जय प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल प्रभुपाद श्री गुरुदेव की जय अनंत कोटि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल कलि गोविंद पावन हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरे कृष्ण so I'm seeing Moshmi Mataji, Sindhu Mataji, Shumangi Mataji, Rajneesh Prabhu, Shobha Mataji, Harjeet Mataji, Shri Priya Sampat Mataji, Arpagavalli Mataji, Sarvagopeshwari Mataji, now Kishori Mataji, Nisha Mataji. All right. So this time looks to be favorable for most. Because I can see many other devotees also have not switched on their cameras. So thank you all for joining in. Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Anant Koji Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So we'll meet at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for our Brahma Murta chanting session, and then we'll meet again at 12 o'clock, around about 12 o'clock. We'll meet for continuation of this chapter number 7, and we will complete this chapter tomorrow, and then Monday we'll again go back to Bhagavad Gita chapter 14. So this will be the Monday, Tuesday we'll do Bhagavad Gita. I hope everyone is contemplating on the verse that we're going to study now, right? What are we studying this week? Upadrashta Anumantacha Bharta Bhukta Maheshwara. How the Krishna is situated in our heart as the permitter, as well as the overseer, as well as the witness, right? So as we surrender to the Lord will guide us. But if you are very busy, the Lord is also busy in his activities. The Lord does not interfere with the free will of the living entities. But if the living entity is expressing his desire, oh Krishna, I want to serve you, I want to love you, I want to serve you, right? In that way, when a devotee expresses desire, then Krishna gives us the intelligence how we can serve the Lord and give pleasure to the Lord. So that is what we want to do. We want to focus on the appearance of Lord Krishna, the appearance of Balaram. Is called Balaram because Rama means one who gives pleasure, right? Bala means spiritual strength, right? So he gives us the spiritual strength so that we can perform devotional service in a way that gives pleasure to the Lord, right? Without Balaram, without the spiritual strength from Balaram, we will not be able to chant Hare Krishna, right? We can render devotional service to Krishna, to our gurus, only by the spiritual strength that we get, from the devotees who are all, and even our own spiritual masters, they're all representatives of Balaram, right? So the appearance day of Balaram, appearance day of Krishna, appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, very powerful, three very important festivals are coming up. Let's prepare our consciousness. And in this way, try to please Guru and Gauranga by always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I'll meet you all tomorrow morning 5 a.m. for the Brahma Murta chanting session. Shila Prabhupada, Shila Gurudev ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So are there any queries? Okay, no hands up, which means I assume there are no queries. It's a pastimes of the Lord. So yeah, there's not much of tattva, but of course, Prabhupada, whenever he describes something, he definitely describes a philosophy, right? We need to understand Krishna's greatness, and that's why we are studying these pastimes of the Lord. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shila Prabhupada, Shila Gurudev ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.